Joseph was a young man with big dreams, literally. He dreamed that one day he would be in a position of great authority, but little did he know. His journey to greatness would be filled with betrayal, trials, and ultimate triumph. Joseph, full of excitement, shares his dream with his older brothers, who exchange angry glances. "I had a dream. We were binding sheaves in the field, and suddenly my sheaf stood upright, while yours bowed down to mine." The brothers murmur among themselves, their expressions turning from shock to anger. Joseph's brothers already envied him. Their father, Jacob, had favored him, even giving him a beautiful multicolored coat. But now, this dream was the final straw. Joseph walks through a field to check on his brothers. They grab him, rip off his coat, and throw him into a deep, dark pit. Joseph shouts for help, but they ignore him. Jealousy turned to betrayal. His own brothers threw him into a pit, planning to get rid of him forever. A group of merchants approach. The brothers pull Joseph from the pit and sell him for silver. Joseph looks back, tears in his eyes, as he is taken away. But God was still with Joseph. Even in slavery, God's plan was unfolding. Joseph, now a servant in Egypt, works diligently. Potiphar, his master, nods approvingly. In Egypt, Joseph served Potiphar, a powerful man. Because of his faithfulness, Joseph was placed in charge of everything in Potiphar's house. Things were finally looking up. Potiphar's wife falsely accuses Joseph. He is dragged away by guards and thrown into prison. But just when things seemed good, Joseph was wrongfully accused and thrown into prison. Again, he suffered for something he didn't do. Two prisoners sit beside Joseph, troubled. He listens carefully as they share their dreams. Even in prison, Joseph trusted God. He interpreted the dreams of two fellow prisoners, one of whom was Pharaoh's cupbearer. Pharaoh tosses and turns in his sleep. He wakes up, disturbed, and calls for someone to interpret his dream. The cupbearer remembers Joseph. 2 years later, Pharaoh had a disturbing dream. No one could interpret it, until Joseph was remembered and brought before him. Joseph stands confidently before Pharaoh. "Your dream means that 7 years of plenty will come, followed by 7 years of famine. You must prepare now." Pharaoh was amazed. He saw that God's wisdom was with Joseph. In an instant, Joseph went from prisoner to second in command of Egypt. Joseph, dressed in fine Egyptian robes, watches as a group of travelers approach. His brothers. They don't recognize him. Years passed. The famine struck, and Joseph's brothers came to Egypt seeking food. But they had no idea that the powerful man before them was the brother they betrayed. Joseph, overwhelmed with emotion, finally speaks. "I am Joseph, your brother, the one you sold into slavery." The brothers fall to their knees, expecting punishment, but Joseph embraces them. But instead of revenge, Joseph showed forgiveness. He saw that even in the pain, God had a greater purpose. What you meant for evil, God meant for good. Joseph embraces his elderly father, Jacob, as tears stream down their faces. Joseph's story reminds us that even when life feels unfair, God is still working. What seems like a setback may be a setup for something greater. Trust him. He is always in control. The Lord was with Joseph, and he prospered. Genesis 39:2.